The Bad Brother. Isaac had 2 sons. The older son's name was Esau, which means hairy, and the younger son's name was Jacob, which means something like cheat. Isaac liked Esau the best, because he was big and strong and hairy, and could hunt. One day, when Isaac was old and blind, he asked Esau to go and kill an animal, cook the meat, and bring it to him.
"When you have done that,"
he promised,
"I shall tell you what you will get after I die."
Esau ran off, his bow slung over his shoulder and his hunting knife in his hand. But he was in such a hurry that he did not notice his mother, Rebekah, hiding behind the tent. Which son did Rebekah like the best? Jacob, of course. Partly because he stayed at home to help her, and partly because he was clever and sneaky, just like her. Rebekah decided then and there that Isaac's promise to Esau should go to Jacob instead. So she went and found Jacob. Together they plotted and planned, and in no time at all Isaac had a visitor with a steaming plate of meat.
"Back so soon, my boy? Oh, my! Oh, that meat smells delicious. Bring it here at once, Esau."
The son brought the meat to his father. The son set it down. But the son was not Esau. "Here you are, father," said Jacob, in as gruff a voice as he could muster. But the old man was not fooled. Isaac may have been blind, but he was not yet deaf.
"Is that really you, Esau? Come here and let me touch those hairy arms."
Jacob came closer. He stretched out his arms, and around them were wrapped the hairy skins from an old goat. Isaac touched the arms. He felt the hairy skin, and he smiled.
"It is you, Esau," he said. "Well then, here is my promise. When I am gone, you will have my land and grow many crops. And besides that, I am putting you in charge of the whole family. They must do whatever you tell them."
Jacob could hardly believe it. So when his father had kissed him, he ran off to tell his mother. And it was a good thing, for not a minute later Esau came back to his father with another plate of meat.
"I'm back," he said cheerfully, "and I can't wait to hear your promise." "What?" exclaimed Isaac. "I've already given my promise away."
And he told Esau what had happened. Esau listened, and bit by bit his face grew as red as his hair. "Jacob," he shouted, "you cheat! One day I will kill you for this." But God was watching, and he had something very different in mind. The Runaway. Jacob ran. Jacob ran and ran. Jacob had cheated his brother Esau, and now his brother wanted to kill him, so Jacob ran. God watched. God watched and watched. God watched Jacob run. And when Jacob was tired and could run no further, when Jacob fell exhausted on the desert floor with only a stone for a pillow, when Jacob was finally ready to listen, God spoke. He came to Jacob in a dream. There was a ladder reaching right up to heaven, with angels parading up and down, and at the very top of the ladder stood God himself. "Jacob," he said, "I am the God of your father Isaac and your grandfather Abraham.
and I am here to make you the same promise I made to them. This land is yours. Your family will be great, and one day through your family I will do something wonderful for the whole world. Now, go, and don't be afraid, for you can always count on me to protect you."
Jacob woke up amazed. He said thank you to God, and he left a stone to mark that special place. Then Jacob ran. He ran and ran, all the way to his uncle Laban's house, where his mother had told him he would be safe, and where God knew he would learn an important lesson. Now, Laban had 2 daughters. The older daughter's name was Leah, which means tired. The younger daughter's name was Rachel, which means lamb. Rachel was beautiful, and the moment Jacob set his eyes on her, he knew she was the girl for him.
"Wonderful," said his uncle Laban. "Work for me 7 years, and she will be your wife."
7 years passed, but Jacob was so in love with Rachel that it seemed no longer than a day. The wedding was well attended. The dress was beautiful. But when Jacob pulled aside the veil that hid his bride's face, he found himself looking into Leah's tired eyes.
"Oh, I forgot to mention," grinned Laban. "Leah is my eldest daughter, so she has to marry first. But you can marry Rachel next week if you like, as long as you promise to work for me for another 7 years.
Jacob looked at the ground. Now the cheater knew how it felt to be cheated. What else could Jacob do? He waited a week, married Rachel, and worked another 7 years for his uncle Laban. Then he headed home, a very different man from the one who had run away. Jacob walked and walked, and when his home was no more than a day's walk away, he saw Essau, his brother, walking towards him. Jacob told his family to stay behind, and walked ahead to face his brother's anger. He wasn't running now. He believed that God would protect him. And so God did, because Esau was different too. When he saw Jacob, he ran up to him, reached out his hairy arms, and hugged him. "I'm sorry," said Jacob.
"I forgive you,"
Esau answered. And the 2 sons of Isaac became brothers at last.